Let's build a Google Display campaign. And remember, Google Display, or the Display Network, is Google's network of third-party websites which show ads from Google on their websites. They do it using AdSense, which you've probably heard of. That's kind of the publisher side of Google AdWords. And so this, once again, this is not in response directly to people searching Google, but it is just as they're browsing the rest of the web, and it can be based upon pretty segmented, pretty targeting options. So it can be effective. Let's go ahead and go to the red campaign button, and we'll create a display network only campaign. That's the best kind of display campaign. The other kind of display campaign is search network with display select, which I do not recommend ever using, just not a good campaign type. So we'll do display network only. Click on that, and it will open up a new interface, and we can create all the settings for our new display campaign. If it will load here. All right. So Google is trying to make it as easy as possible for you to create a campaign, and it gives you different options. So it's saying, what is your goal, and then select this option, and we'll walk you through how to create the campaign. If you want to do that, that's fine. I'm just going to show you how to walk through the actual process kind of from an agency standpoint of doing everything ourselves, just so you can understand what all the options are, and then you can make your own decisions. So instead of hitting marketing objectives here, I'm going to say no marketing objective, which means that all of the features are available to me. And then we'll leave the default here, all features, as the sub-campaign type. And we'll call it just umbrella display. It's fine. And so first of all, we need to set our geographic targeting area, just like with a search campaign. For now, let's set it to the United States. You need to select what languages do your customers speak, and then you need to select bidding strategy. Let me show you a little bit about the bidding strategy here. So you can manually set your bids for clicks, which is what I typically recommend, or you could select this option here, where AdWords will set my bids to help maximize the clicks within my target budget. It's okay to use that strategy. We do use it for some clients. It really depends on your goals. The problem is that not every click is worth the same amount, because some search terms are far more relevant and more likely to convert than others. So I like to have a lot of control over how much I bid for specific keywords, and that is why I use the manual option more often than not. Now, enabled enhanced CPC, this option here, which is checked by default, means that Google looks at your conversion history, and if it thinks that a search term is likely to convert for you, then this option gives Google the flexibility to bid 20 or 30% higher than your max bid, your max CPC, because it thinks that will convert. Now, we don't have any conversion history in this account yet, so I'm just going to uncheck that for now, and we could always turn that on later on if we wanted to, once we had a bunch of conversions that Google could look at to base its decisions upon. If you wanted to, you could also focus on impressions, so bid by 1,000 impressions instead of bidding by clicks. I prefer to bid by click. You're still getting a lot of free impressions in that scenario. You're not paying anything for impressions, and I think it's just typically the best option to go with. You could also use what they call Conversion Optimizer once you get a bunch of conversions in your account. I don't have a lot of confidence in this Conversion Optimizer tool. I have not seen it work very well in the past, but it is an option. Basically, Google sets your bids based upon how it thinks your campaign will convert based upon your historic conversion data. And then let's see here. Let's go ahead and, all right, so we've got focus on clicks. I'll manually set my bid for clicks. Go back to basic options here. All right, we'll set a budget of $10 a day, just as a default budget. And for the display network, I recommend that you always use the standard delivery type. Don't use accelerated, because I've seen pretty poor results from using accelerated for display campaigns. It's better just to space the ads evenly out throughout the day. Ad extensions, we could always add those later on if we want to, so I'll ignore that for right now. We could set a schedule for the campaign if we wanted to, when the ads show. We can change the ad delivery. And unlike with Google search campaigns, I don't typically rotate display ads indefinitely, particularly for the remarketing campaigns especially. For just normal display campaigns like this one, it's a little iffy. Sometimes I rotate indefinitely, sometimes I don't. It depends on how much traffic you think you're going to attract or generate with this campaign. If you have enough traffic where you can quickly determine which ad is winning and then create new winning ad or create new test ads to test against the winning ad, then you might want to rotate indefinitely. Otherwise, you might want to optimize for clicks and just let Google figure out what gets the best click-through rate. This here, frequency capping, is pretty important. You don't want to exhaust people with your ads and just hit them nonstop. So you can create a cap and say that I don't want any more than 7 impressions per day for this campaign. So no one could see your ad more than 7 times in a single day. And 7 is just a default number I often use, but it doesn't matter what you select in terms of, obviously it does matter because people will see your ads as many times as you select there, but don't go too low. Don't go below 3 probably, but don't go too high either. And then you can select devices here. Display on mobile has a lot of issues. There are a lot of not high quality mobile sites out there and apps, especially game apps, where people accidentally touch ads. You may have done that yourself in an app. I definitely have done that myself in apps. And that's an easy way to waste some money. So I'll talk more about how to exclude apps in a second here. Campaign URL options, that's if you want to add UTM parameters to your URLs, which you don't need to. It's an option. And location options, this is where you can select which of these location options to use. And we talked about that in the search campaign area. All right, so let's go ahead and save and continue here. And this will take us on where we create an ad group. And let's just call this by umbrellas, and I'll show you some of the different options for creating ad groups. Set a max CPC of $1. So how can we target on the display network? Bunch of different options. We can target, first of all, using keywords. And unlike the keywords in your search campaigns, Google is actually looking for these keywords on a website. So for example, say we sell these umbrellas, we can put a couple keywords in there, rain umbrellas, and use broad match. Don't worry about any match types because on the display network, all of the keywords are just automatically broad match. So we could add those keywords, and then Google would show our ads on websites where they see these keywords show up. And it's a decent targeting option. Down here, we could target we could narrow our targeting further. So we could both only target websites that have those keywords, and then we could also only target specific placements or specific demographics. And I'll show you all of those options in a second here. And then this option is automatically selected. Let AdWords automatically find new customers. I typically don't select this option starting out because I don't trust Google to actually have a great understanding of who my customers are. Once we get some data built up and some conversion data, I might turn that back on because that gives Google a benchmark to work with. But starting out, I don't recommend that option. So we could save and continue if we wanted to use this ad group. Or let me show you some different targeting options here. We could target interests and remarketing. So there are a number of different audiences that Google has created. Affinity audiences means that Google thinks these people have long-term interests based upon their browsing and search history. So you can see a bunch of different options here. And you can target nightlife enthusiasts or shoppers, specific types of shoppers. So for example, if we wanted to run a display campaign for our beach umbrellas or Hawaii beach umbrellas, we could target luxury shoppers because we might think that those are a good fit for our campaigns. And you can see just a bunch of different options in here. Now Google is making educated guesses that these people have these interests. It doesn't mean these people actually do have those interests. So just keep that in mind. Google doesn't know for sure that these people are actually art and theater aficionados or avid investors, etc. Similar to affinity audiences, but somewhat different, is in-market audiences. And here, Google thinks that someone right now is looking for one of these types of products or services based upon their recent search and browsing history. So this can be good if you're trying to sell something especially. So for example, say someone is in the market for, let's not do auto parts, just for motor vehicles, for new motor vehicles. Well, we could show them ads for your dealership. And those people are probably in a buying mood right now. They're researching cars, and those would be really great people to hit with your ads. So those are the two audience types. Then you can also do remarketing lists from here, and I'll have a separate lecture about creating a remarketing campaign. You can do customer email lists, which is customer email lists is a pretty advanced feature, requires some special stuff you can take care of. If you want to use that, search for customer match, Google that, and you'll find information about how to make that happen. And that's based on your own first-party data. And then you can also target, sometimes Google will create lists of people on the display network that are similar to people on your remarketing list or on your customer email list. And if Google creates one of those lists, then that can be a good list to target as well. So that's interest in remarketing. And then you can also target some more options here by topics. So you can target websites that have specific topics. Like book retailers, we could target those with our book ads or whatever. And then placements, you can target actually specific placements. So I don't know what a good example would be, but CNN.com. I'm not sure if they have Google ads or not, probably not, but that's just an example. You could type, oh, there we go, they're right there. You could target CNN.com. The cost for each ad click is probably going to be expensive because that's a very high quality placement from Google's perspective and from advertiser perspectives, but that's how you target a specific placement, a specific website. You can also target by demographics, so gender, obviously, age, they have these age brackets, and then also parental status, which is super if you are selling anything family-related or child-related, and you only want to show something to parents or to people who aren't parents, then that's a great option there. And once again, Google is guessing about this information, most of this information, or hoping that whatever information they put into their Google account was actually accurate. And then you could layer these types of targeting. So you could only target men who are in the market for cars, or you can only target women who are luxury shoppers or who are on specific types of websites, so forth and so on. So you can get very, very targeted with your targeting here. And then we would just save and continue. Actually, we need to actually target something here. So we've got rain umbrellas. Let's save and continue. And then you can create ads. And you can create text ads and image ads. I'm just going to skip this for right now. Probably come back to that later on. And here we go. Here is our account. Here's our campaign. Let's go up to the all campaigns level. Let's refresh this here. Get rid of that. Get rid of that. And there we go. Here's our display campaign right here, umbrella display. We can click on there, and I'll show you around the different tabs. All right. So you can add ad extensions from this tab here, just like with a search campaign. You can create ads from the same kind of ads tab as with your search campaign, and you can create text ads or image ads. You can then go to the display network tab over here, and this is where you would manage whatever targeting you have set up. So whether you're using remarketing lists or whether you are using demographics or placements or so forth and so on, you can get to all those sub tabs from here. And that's how you create a display campaign. Now, as far as strategy, Don't layer things too much. So don't limit yourself too much in terms of how many people you can go after if you run a display campaign. But also don't go too broad, because there are a ton of people on the display network and you can get very targeted, and you want to be as targeted as possible in order to get the best return on investment for your money. Once again, I consider search network campaigns to be the bread and butter for most advertisers. Display campaigns are good for brand awareness. Maybe they're good for startups who sell a product or service that people don't know to search for yet. And then there are some other scenarios where display can work well. But for a lot of advertisers in the service and product industry, search is your bread and butter.